Okay, moving right along. So moving on to slide number 2, I called this Ready for Santa. So again, this is the click to reveal interaction that I was mentioning. So we have a cute little menu here, and you can see on the screen that there are some, there's the opportunity for the user to actually take some action. So what I say is select a to-do list item and get ready for Christmas Eve, right? So hang stockings, decorate tree, leave treats for Santa. So what I've done is I've used slide layers in order to give the appearance that things are happening. So if you can imagine, this is a little bit like I Dream of Jeannie style, right? So when you click your fingers, like something happens. That's kind of what I imagine whenever this is. Whenever I'm building something like this, I have to think, okay, what is the first way that I'm perceiving something, and then what is the ultimate way that I want for that thing to be perceived? And in this case, I'm first perceiving an empty tree. The next thought is, okay, I want it to be fully decorated. So how do I get from point A to point B here? So in this case, we're going to use layers and an object trigger to actually get us to that place. So I'm going to preview this slide just so that we can see that, and we'll play it together, and then we can actually sort of unravel what it looks like on the back end. So again, Ready for Santa. What did I tell you about that hover state? See, also here you can see that I'm not allowed to go next, so I've deactivated that next button for now, and we'll go into that in a second. I can, however, go back. And then our little progress bar down here, our little snowman has jumped forward. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click Hang Stockings. Now watch. Ta-da! Pretty cool, right? That I Dream of Jeannie effect. I'll click Decorate Tree. Ta-da! Again, right? Immediately we see a difference. And now I'll click Leave Treats. Ta-da! Oh, what's this? Another thing popped up saying, nice job, you're totally on Santa's nice list this year. And now all of a sudden the next button is active. So overall, a pretty fun screen, a lot of interactivity here, right? So let's go ahead and take a peek about how this actually all came together. The first thing I'm going to show you is down here on the timeline. We can see that we have all of our options here, are basically our art. Again, this is our canvas, and this is everything that has been really sprawled across it. So a little button up here, I guess, excuse me, that is not a button. It's more of a, what is this? I guess an area locator, almost like breadcrumb. It's telling us what this is, right? We're preparing for the big night of Santa. We also have 3 individual buttons, which I've named down here. So in order to name something, you actually just click into it and come over here and name it. You can see I'm really sloppy about this, like this tree. It's just called Picture 10, but I could very easily call this, you know, tree. And this I could also very easily call tray, right? So I think you will start to figure out just how meticulous the work requires you to be with this. I think I'm not going to be on my high horse and say that I'm really clean about this, because I'm really not, as you can see. Okay, I digress a little. So ultimately we have these 3 buttons: hang stockings, decorate tree, and leave treats. So again, we want the user to experience something different when they click each of these. Let's start with hang stockings. So when the user clicks this, I want for stockings to appear up here on this little string. So what I've done is I've actually created a new slide layer down here where I have added an image right on top, which has that exact same effect, right? So it goes from having nothing to having something. So the cool thing about working with slide layers is that unless you adjust some settings, which I don't want to get into all the nitty-gritty about that right now, but unless you adjust some settings, everything will just get stacked on top of what's considered down here your base layer. So what I'm essentially doing is I'm putting an image right on top, and everything below it is still going to shine through. It's still going to be there. So when you think about the way that the layers work in that way, really the opportunity is sort of endless for you to implement and build upon that base layer to create this multi-layered cake full of all sorts of ornate things. In this case, what I've done is I've also said when you double click on one of these, you have slide layer properties. I've also said I don't want to hide the other slide layers, although you can if you'd like. You can also hide the objects on the base layer if you'd like. I guess I am getting into the nitty gritty. But right now what I want to have happen is when I'm clicking each of these buttons, I don't want to hide, say, the decorate tree layer, because if I've already clicked that button, I want for it to remain decorated. Does that make sense? So here I've basically got these 3 layers: decorate tree, hang stocking, leave treats. And those are just going to stack on top of each other. Let's start right now with just the hang stockings, which is where we began. So over here, we've got some triggers that are associated with this. For now, let's just focus on the show layers. So again, I mentioned triggers a little bit before with the back next button, but when you want something to happen on your screen, what you'll ultimately do is you'll click the object and then you'll click this create a new trigger button. So I've already created a trigger. I'm going to open this up. And again, remember I mentioned when you take an action, another action will happen. When X, then Y. An if-then statement, really. So what I'm saying is take this action, show layer, and I've selected the layer. This is not the right one. Oh, let's pick hang stocking. That's where we were. So I'm selecting the action, show layer. Which layer? Hang stocking. But by clicking this, I could choose, in theory, any of them. I want hang stocking. This is when we're setting that condition, right? In this case, when the user clicks. But you see there's a lot of other options over here. When a state changes, when a slider moves, when the timeline starts, right? It's usually when user clicks. This is a click to reveal. Click to reveal something else. So when the user clicks, we want to reveal this layer, the hang stocking layer. No conditions. It's just very straightforward. Show layer, hang stocking, when user clicks stockings. Okay. So now over here, this is the actual layer that we're working with. Again, all I did was paste the fully completed image right on top. So that should be pretty easy for you to do. I've actually created these in PowerPoint. So I'm going to open these up and show you what I've done. So you can see here I have basically a before and an after of each. And I've just exported these to PNGs. I've right-clicked, saved as pictures, and then I've put these into basically a before and after file folder. So when you're actually working in Storyline, that should be pretty easy for you. You have your before here on the base layer, and then your after here on your basically, click to revealed layer. So at this point, we can rinse and repeat, right? For decorate tree, we're going to do the exact same thing. We're going to show layer, decorate tree, when the user clicks this object, which I've named tree. So pretty straightforward. If I wanted something else to happen, it would be very simple. I could come up here, draw an object, and again, go to the trigger pane, change the state of, no, maybe I want to show a layer, maybe I want to jump to a slide, right, to maybe next slide when user clicks this rectangle. So start to play around with triggers and figure out kind of what works best for you, I guess. All right. So at this point, let's just leave it at these 3 layers: decorate tree, hang stocking, leave treats. We are going to remove that big red box and call this a day for the time being. There's an extra special sort of little ditty that I did here, which is that I have made this button go from an inactive state or disabled state to an active state or a normal state. And I've also basically told Storyline to show a unique layer when all 3 of these buttons have been selected. It's a little complicated. I almost don't want to go into it, but you know what? What the heck? We're on the slide. Why not? So here, I'll come down to these buttons first. And again, remember, you're always going to go to states and you can see what we're working with. Initial state is how I have this set as disabled. So if I wanted to, I could make it normal and it would be completely fine. Again, you can just hover over these states and see what's happening with each of them. I don't want it to be normal though, because I actually don't want for the user to be able to move forward until all of these other things have happened. That's fake. I mean, I'm making that up just for the sake of showing you, but in some cases, that will be a requirement for a course. The user needs to watch all of the video before being able to move forward, that kind of thing. So it's really restrictive. I actually don't like using this kind of navigation very much, but clients ask for it, people ask for it, so figured why not show you. So I'm going to show this button as disabled from the get-go. But upon meeting a certain set of conditions, this button can be made from disabled to normal. And the conditions that I want to set is that I want for the user to click each one of these things. Essentially, I want all of the room to be decorated before I can move forward. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to come over here and show you what I've done. I'm going to click into this guy right here. I've set up a trigger that says change the state of my next button to normal, which again, remember, it started as inactive or disabled. So I'm going to change the state to normal when the state of all of these other buttons is visited. Okay, so that's a little tricky, but essentially, every time I click one of these guys, it's going to change to a visited state. It'll change to green. And let me show you what that actually looks like in preview mode, just so that you can stick with me here. Hang stockings, I'm in hover. I click, and if I drag my mouse away, you can see, ooh, right there, it's a visited state. Click, visited state. Click, right? So this thing happened, now my next button. I can replay that to show you again. See, next button is deactive. I click, I click, I click. Now all of a sudden this is active and I have this message. So right now I'm really wanting you only to focus on the next button becoming active. That's what we just set up over here through this. Okay, so if I wanted another object, I can add another object. If I wanted only one object, I could just work with the one object. But know that you can essentially set up the parameters to say, once the user has done X, Y, and Z, then they're able to do A. So that's how you would really kind of use this here. You can see another thing happens when we reach those same parameters, which is this layer appears, which says nice job. It's exactly the same thought process behind setting that up as it is with this button, except instead of changing the state of something, we are showing a new layer. So what I've done here for a nice job is I say, show layer, nice job, when the state of, again, all of these three things is visited. It's the same parameters. So I have created this. Again, it just layers on top. It sits on top. And once the user has done all these three things, I'm going to be able to see that message. So this is really great if at the end of, say, a quiz, 3 or 4 question quiz, you want for a certain message to appear. You know, really great job. You've done an awesome job. Congrats to you. You're a star player, or whatever. If you wanted a certain message to appear after something has happened, you might take a similar approach. So I'll pause right there. This is really a relatively simple slide with the exception of these kind of like more intermediate level variables. But at the end of the day, really, I think what you can practice is just a click to reveal. Create a button, create an object, create a square, have an image. You know, you can add these triggers to images as well. And then set up some triggers that say, when the user clicks this thing, I want something else to happen. I want something else to take place on screen. So play around with that and see how that feels for you and how you can start to create some really cool presentations on your end.